13 Sentinels Aegis Rim then joins the Nintendo Switch, and this is now my second time with the game, having originally experienced it on the PlayStation 4. Now my thoughts on that release, they stand to this day. This game is a masterpiece, so let's talk about why. With that, hit subscribe, join us here on SwitchCorner for reviews and deals near daily, and let's get started. The story of 13 Sentinels then is a unique one to explain, not because of potentially its complexities, but rather spoilers. This game is best experienced blind, so I'll give you the minimum to give you a picture of what to expect, and you can make your decision from there. Opening the game though, we will have just one character we can play as, but this will quickly open up to the title 13. So starting things off, we find ourselves in 1985. Three youngsters are having shared dreams. These dreams of their future selves, a war with Kaiju that appear to be destroying the world around you. Now, are these dreams real? What do they mean and why are they shared? And basically from here begins a story that crosses not only multiple incredibly likable characters, but also time itself. With a near 40-hour runtime as well, it's incredibly well pieced together to create this sense of constant cliffhangers. The reason each character has multiple stories that conclude with to be continued, and there's a handy percentage showing you their completion. This led me to a sense of constantly wanting to push forward, and along the way there's more than a few twists and turns. What makes this story even more unique though, while some characters will be locked behind some sort of progression, most can in fact be played in any order, meaning one character's story may uncover the route for another's story to move forward. And after the first few hours of honestly confusion, you start to see repeating scenes and clues they begin to open up. I also love the fact that yes, often we are tackling a life-changing events and intrigue, but they never forget to pack their characters with personality, whether that's simply grabbing snacks or discussing topics that are not removed from what would be a standard school environment. Think like gossip around you. It had me absolutely hooked though from beginning to end, and if you like your sci-fi and your adventure, this it is some of the best non-linear storytelling I've seen in a long time, and I do not think I'm being over the top in saying that it's something absolutely special. It's just incredibly impressive design and writing. Gameplay then, it's split into three areas. The opening of the game, it very much guides you, but a few hours in, you'll actually uncover what is essentially a main menu. Now here you can jump freely between modes. That's going to be Remembrance, Analysis, and Destruction. Remembrance is where you will spend the majority of your time. This is the storytelling heart of the game, and you'll freely choose from one of the 13 available characters as you do unlock them. Atlas then asked that we avoid spoilers. We only show up to 30% of the exploration today for each character, and I absolutely agree with that. Spoilers, they would be plentiful following that point, so if the storytelling doesn't seem all that exciting in the background, that's because things here, they are really just getting going. Now in these moments in the exploration, there's a fair few mechanics for you to control. First off, of course, that movement with the left stick around these different small locations. That said, it will always have a trick up its sleeve to basically whisk you somewhere fresh and new, or even just a way to see a similar location but in a new light. The latter being particularly important. As I said in story, the opening, it is confusing. You'll be trying to make sense out of the few breadcrumbs the game has given you, but give it time, you'll start to piece it all together, and that is incredibly rewarding. Aside from exploration and dialogue exchanges, and there's a whole lot of those in this one, you'll find some minor location investigations, items, and most importantly what the game calls the Thought Cloud. This is essentially an inventory. You're basically accessing knowledge that you have gained, and you can both present these to characters around you thanks to what is a handy highlight, or even just think about it more with this kind of internal dialogue. It's incredibly important though that you use this thought cloud. It's often the key to progression as you start to meet the sizable cast of characters that surround you. Now, I've mentioned a lot of dialogue, and yeah, look, I'll be transparent, this is a visual novel level of writing, but we get the ability here to fast forward certain dialogue moments, because you're definitely repeating the same scene, so if you've seen that dialogue before, that option presents itself. It's definitely a nice way to keep that pace moving. Many as well will be looking to destruction mode. This is where the mechs come into play, but it may not be quite what you expect. And that is because this is not some first-person mech action game, rather it's actually real-time strategy, and it's another area that's largely left unexplained in regards to its relation with the story. Again though, by the end game, it all comes together and it will definitely surprise you. Now, I'm personally a big fan of real-time strategy, and it's simple enough in controls that it absolutely works on console, but can also be as easy or difficult as you please thanks to what is difficulty options specifically built for this area of the gameplay. Both modes intertwine as well, pushing each other forward, but it will definitely accommodate you if you are just here for the story, or if you want a little bit of extra challenge, choose that hard mode. It is never a particularly difficult game though, honestly, no matter the difficulty you do choose, but I actually think this was a really smart decision because it keeps that pace moving forward constantly. We also then see a shift in the viewpoint here. We go from that beautiful, almost painted style and 2D character design to 3D and isometric. This switch achieves a sense of scale though. We are piloting huge towering mechs that we will see in the story, and the buildings, the skyline that we've witnessed is obviously often smaller. Now we have a city entirely to run wild in. Now, the idea in these battles, there's two ways to win: clear out all Kaiju, or wait until a defensive unit activates at the center of the map after 2 minutes. Basically, the entire concept here is Kaijus have invaded, you need to push them back. Now, I know 2 minutes there sounds like a smaller time frame, but every time you select a character to select an action, it actually freezes the timer and enemies around you, and I think that was a really smart move because it makes it work so well with a controller in hand. It's intense, but not so quick paced. You can't keep up with the natural disadvantage a controller typically provides for this genre. From here though, you'll be working with your army of 12, 6 will be selected for defense that commit to actions without your input, and then 6 that attack. These ones will be in your control. It's kind of a mix of defensive, melee, gunfire and long-ranged attacks, and the screen will be swarming with enemies near constantly. It's also worth noting here as well, no matter how manic things got, this game ran flawlessly, as was the case in the story moments and exploration. Alongside simply choosing attacks, then we can strategize with defensive maneuvers, we can upgrade our unit, we will be leveling up with victories, we will be awarded a rank based upon our performance. We have a single use special that can inflict massive damage to all enemies on screen. We can even unlock new movesets. You'll even need to manage rotating your attackers and defense, because if you choose to face multiple battles in a row, let's just say our team gets tired from the strain inflicted on them in using one of these mechs. The final part of the gameplay then is the analysis page. This is a breakdown of all events should you need a kind of recap for a character. It also then contains what it calls mystery files. You'll be awarded mystery points. These files essentially, they develop your knowledge of specific scenarios, and you'll unlock further by completing story-driven events or winning in battle. I actually didn't find this idea all that attractive at first, but once I unlocked a few, I was actually always intrigued to see what came next. Problems, and honestly, it's quite difficult to name, so I'm not sure. Sometimes the controls and locking onto the character or item you want to interact with can be a little finicky, and in battle, things often get so manic that you'll be bouncing around menus, and yeah, sometimes just kind of choosing that direction you need to go is kind of awkward. That's me being really picky though. I had an incredible time with this one, and its gameplay is more than worth experiencing. Visually then, 13 Sentinels is again stunning. As I mentioned earlier, it's made up of two very distinctive styles, the narrative and the action. The narrative moments are stunning, almost watercolor-like designs, where each location is just packed with detail and character, and they never fail to demonstrate the scale of this world. That is especially true for the mechs that become more and more frequent. Then the animations, from a simple walk to run, each of our 13 characters and supporting cast feel unique. This is then though accompanied by the real-time events, and I liked these a lot. It won't be for everyone, but it's crafted like almost think a wire design rather than 3D models. I thought it would be jarring, but it just feels almost futuristic, and it allows you to simply focus on the action. I also kind of see that it supports the scale of the world. We often see hundreds of enemies at once on screen, and this just wouldn't have been possible with traditional visuals. Menus then are clean and maintaining a simple way to move around the screen. Subtitles are extremely clear. I had no issues with playing in handheld, which is always a positive, and the text is particularly crisp. It is presented in this stylistic way alongside our characters on screen, avoiding the use of text boxes. You can turn them off should you choose to, but I actually felt stylistically they were a really nice touch. Audio wraps up the package then, and I enjoyed the score. With the time travel aspect of the game, it definitely adds to the mystery, and it's often electronic mixed with a little bit of classical. It drives up the tension and the emotion in all of the right spots though, and leads to a Hollywood style of production quality, which definitely suits the events unfolding on screen. Perhaps the most impressive part though of the entire game, honestly, it is fully voice acted and to the highest of quality. This is some of the best voice acting I've heard in a long time, which shows what a cast can do given the right script. Finally then, that voice acting, it's presented to us in both Japanese and English, so the choice there is yours. So the final verdict, and I'm a fan if that's not obvious at this point in the video, an incredible narrative that is non-linear, feels executed perfectly, and allows for more intrigue than most games I can name of out there. That writing is just another level, and piecing it together, seeing these characters go through what is life-changing events, it's just incredibly satisfying at the end of all of it. The intrigue as well, I just can't fault the way it has been designed. It will absolutely though challenge you as the player in so many ways with that story, and all sci-fi fans should absolutely be coming here. This is all then reinforced with stunning visual design and audio work, and a fun slice of real-time strategy. The real-time element for sure, the smaller element of the gameplay, just be aware of that going in, but this it is a must-buy from me and a 10 out of 10. Now for those new to my channel wondering how often does he give these out though, this is my 407th Nintendo Switch review on the channel. This is only my third ever 10 out of 10. I do not give these out lightly. It's also worth noting here, I do not believe that any game will ever be perfect, but after playing this, I challenge any sci-fi fan to find something with a stronger narrative than this, and that's who the 10 out of 10 here is for, the sci-fi fans and those that like a strong narrative. This is, again, about as good as it gets. Will you be adding this one to the library then, or holding onto that cash? A shout out then to the patrons of the channel who are going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.